Black Friday was a 1940 Universal monster movie. Well, I don't know if I'd call it a monster movie. It was sort of a mad scientist meets crime gangster movie. It was really not what I expected. And I read the title, Black Friday, and I thought, maybe it's about Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi looking for some great post-Thanksgiving sales at Best Buy. But nope, not that either. In fact, the film opens up with Boris Karloff playing Dr. Ernest Sovac, and he's being led to the electric chair. And on the way, he hands his diary to a member of the press. It was somebody, he said, that always reported fairly about him. And then the film begins to kind of tell the story through the pages of his journal. And we transition back in time to the classroom of Professor George Kingsley. He's played here by Stanley Ridges. And I recently got to see him as the bad guy in the Hopalong Cassidy film, Silver and the Sage. He did a great job here. And he's this English teacher. He's very jolly and peaceful. And he's just dismissed his class for the day. And he meets up with Dr. Sovac. And they go for a ride. But when Professor Kingsley goes back to get his umbrella, look out! He gets nailed by a crashing car that had involved some mobsters who were in a shootout. And they kind of smashed the car into him, into a wall. And it's not looking good. So Dr. Sovac is the treating physician who treats both Professor Kingsley and the mobster guy. Now, the mobster guy's doing fine. He just had some minor scrapes. But Professor Kingsley is in severe condition. He's in a coma. And it's here that Dr. Sovac starts to get some sneaky mad scientist ideas and wants to try out this crazy treatment involving a brain swap. And take it from me, don't analyze the medical science going on here, as it's pretty silly and completely implausible. Just have fun with it. Here's the gist. He swaps part of the gangster's brain and puts it into Professor Kingsley's head. And somehow this kicks Professor Kingsley out of his coma, restores his body, and restores him to full health. But in the process, this leaves the mobster guy dead. And a quick side note, it was really cool to hear that eerie mummy music motif appear while Dr. Sovac is giving this gangster guy a smoke in the hospital. Yeah, this was definitely the 1940s.
What's the matter with me, Doc? I can't feel nothing. My legs are there, but I can't feel them.
Your spine is broken.
So Dr. Sovac does this partial brain transplant of the mobster's brain into his friend's brain, I guess. I'm not sure how it works. But as the Professor Kingsley starts to recover, and by the way, he's got like no scars, no bandaging, no bald areas. Just don't think about it much. He seems to be doing much better, and he appears to be back to his old cheerful self. Now, unless you think Dr. Sovac here is being completely noble, the scoop is that the mobster guy, before dying, he lets slip that he had some money hidden away, and Dr. Sovac wants to find it, so he can build a new lab or something. So he urges his friend, the professor, to take a trip with him to New York, thinking that might be able to jog some of his mobster memories, and then he can find out where the money is. So while his friend goes along, he has these odd memory flashbacks, like he knows which hotel room to pick, or he's familiar with a dancing girl at the show, stuff like this. He has these weird little memory flashes, and Dr. Sovac just keeps watching and waiting.
Pardon me.
Sure.
So Professor Kingsley starts complaining of a headache and goes back to his room. And while he's just kind of in this sleepy state, Dr. Sovac starts talking to him, telling him the names of the guys in his gang and trying to jog the memories. And you guessed it, this professor finally does the Jekyll Hyde thing and becomes the gangster personality of the gangster that's in his brain named Red Cannon. And the transformation is a little silly, as really the only thing that changes is his hair, which goes from gray to sort of this black and oily sheen. So Professor Kingsley now thinks he's the gangster Red Cannon, and he accepts his new identity, and thinking he's safe because nobody recognizes him, he sneaks off and goes about his criminal ways, killing people, and then returning to the hotel room to sleep. He's getting revenge against his old mobsters that betrayed him and so on. So Dr. Sovac finds him in his room and notices there's blood on his hands and realizes, uh-oh, this is getting kind of far. So this red cannon goes about his killing ways and even meets up with his old sweetheart, who seems convinced that he's still the same person even though he looks completely different. So we get to a point when this character Red gets shot, and Dr. Sovac talks to him and even does the mummy stare down thing, which was really cool.
I'll cut you in on the dough. You'll get your share.
From now on, you do exactly as I say.
Now, my three fans might be wondering, well, what happened to Bela Lugosi? Wasn't he in this film? But honestly, and unfortunately, he's just not in the film that much. He's another crime mobster guy, albeit one who has a thick Transylvanian accent for some reason. And while Red Cannon does eventually catch up with Bela, there was sadly no screen time shared with Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. I guess you'd have to watch a movie like The Black Cat for something like that, where both of those characters share a chess game. And that was pretty cool. And that's just one of the things I enjoy from films like this, when you have these epic character actors who meet one another. But sadly, that didn't really happen here as much. In any case, check out the film. And I'm not going to give much more in terms of the plot away, but the ending is really neat. It's got this entertaining Hitchcock twist. And I won't say much. Just check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. And some closing thoughts. This felt less like a Universal classic monster horror movie, more of a gangster film with some mad scientist vibes to it. And to be honest, the main star here really is Stanley Ridges, who nails it with that dual personality role. He goes from being this mousy English professor to a black-hearted gangster. He really plays it well, and you really believe it's two different people, which is interesting. It's great stuff. It almost feels like a Twilight Zone episode, to be totally honest. And final thought, I love the movie poster, which leads you to think it's a film about Bela and Boris. Notice the colors too. Red for the vampire, Bela Lugosi, and green for the monster, Boris Karloff. That's awesome. It's nothing like that at all. This was just a fun, cheesy film, and it's worth checking out.
Tell me a story. Tell me a funny story. I knock him out of the bed. He screams. The old lady calls me a tramp. Home sweet home. I'll kill him.
Shut up. I don't like gabbly taxi drivers.